Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to tonight's very exciting Free Library of Philadelphia Foundation author event. It is wonderful to see you all here. What a crowd. As I've often said, this series is, to my mind, one of this city's great cultural treasures. By bringing authors together with readers, we create a space for important and engaging conversations, and we make the literary world accessible to the Philadelphia community. Our spring season is just getting underway. We have about 30 author events planned over the next 5 months. We'll welcome to this stage scientists, historians, novelists, travel writers, poets, and so many more. There is quite literally something for everyone. And I hope you will join us. But tickets are selling fast, so please do register soon. You can see from tonight's crowd that these events are very popular. You can sign up for our mailing list as well by visiting our webpage at freelibraryfoundation.org. I also want to say just a few words about our organization in general. The foundation works together with the Free Library to support programming and advance its mission of promoting literacy throughout the Philadelphia region. As a nonprofit, we are reliant upon your support to achieve these goals, so please do consider donating. You can use either the QR code on the author events bookmarks that are just outside the door, or you can donate through our website at freelibraryfoundation.org. Before we get to tonight's program, there are a few people and organizations I'd like to thank. We are grateful first and foremost to this season's sponsor, Comcast, whose support allows us to keep these events as accessible and as affordable as possible. I'd also like to thank Uncle Bobby's, our partner bookseller, and the Philadelphia Citizen, our new media partner. And finally, I would like to thank our volunteers. They are a dedicated group of library patrons whose loyalty to this program is unmatched. This evening we have with us Gabby, Karen, and Maddie, and we are so grateful for their support. Tonight, we welcome Brian Kelly, who is the founder of The Points Guy. Who's excited? The Points Guy is here with us tonight. He is the leading voice in loyalty programs, points, miles, credit cards, and travel. He has grown TPG to be a powerhouse travel and lifestyle media platform that reaches over 10 million unique monthly visitors around the world. He has been recognized with awards and accolades. Forbes' #1 travel influencer, Travel and Leisure's most notable people in travel, Adweek's Young Influentials list, and as an Out 100 recipient. He will be joined in conversation by Haley Sachs, an entrepreneur and financial influencer who is also the founder and CEO of Finance is Cool. She has received numerous awards and recognitions, including being named one of Money.com's 2023 Changemakers and one of TikTok's most inspiring women in business by Inc. magazine. She was named the Adweek Creative Visionary Award winner for personal finance advice in 2022. She was included in InStyle's Badass 50 in 2021 and Fortune's 40 Under 40 in 2020. I hope you are excited as I am for tonight's conversation. Please join me in welcoming Brian Kelly and Haley Sachs.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Do you have a good side? Do you care what chair?
Oh, yeah, this side for sure.
Okay, let's switch.
I made that up. Welcome, Brian Kelly, author. Give it up for Brian. Guys, we are here. This is actually a really special night because we're here for this is the eve of Brian's book launch. Like, it comes out tomorrow. You've worked so hard on it. We need to know everything about you. How did you start The Points Guy? I mean, that's where we're going to start. But just like, this book really is an amalgamation of so much knowledge. So I can't believe that we're here.
Well, it's so good to be in Philly because, as many of you probably know, I grew up in New Hope, Pennsylvania. If you haven't been, highly recommend. And I'd also just like to apologize to the first 2 to 3 rows for stinking like steak and onion right now. Yeah. I couldn't come to Philly. We went to we were going to go to Angelo's, but it's closed, which someone told me about. So we went to Shea's, which is right around the corner here, and they have filet and prime rib cheesesteaks. unbelievable. 10 out of 10 recommend. So,
We're switching to become food bloggers.
has anyone here been to Shays? It just was rated the #3 steakhouse in America. It's amazing. Really, really good. They don't even own a freezer there. It's all fresh steaks. So, anyway,
Focus, Brian. We're talking about
this is why I had a
know.
moderator tonight, because I go off the rails very quickly. But
Let's hear. We want to know, how did you start the Points Guy?
the points guy got started. I was first the points kid. So it was the 90s, and I was always a AOL hacker. Who here remembers the days when you had to put a dial-up modem? You would screech and hope to get through, and your mom would pick up the phone and boot you off, and you'd get mad. So those were the days. I was a little computer hacker, and my dad got a job. He was working in Conshohocken at the time, and then he got a job for a startup in Chatsworth, California. And so in 1995, he was working from home, and he needed someone to book his travel. He didn't have a secretary anymore. So one of my first jobs was booking his travel. And there was a website called Travelocity that had just launched. Yes. So booking his flights was really easy, but he thought it was like this really convoluted process. So I charged him $10 per booking, which, considering it took me 60 seconds,
that's a good
they
rate.
didn't even have secure pass. I don't think I had to put in his name when you bought a ticket back then. So when you calculate that hourly rate, it was a good gig.
You've always had a knack for business.
And one day my dad came to me and said, if I've got US Airways miles, American miles, so I switch it up. He's like, I don't think we can even, I'm one of 4 kids. He's like, I don't think we can even get to Orlando, maybe one way, or we'll go on a road trip. But being the precocious little gay boy that I was like, Orlando's boring. And so I had just read The Firm by John Grisham, and they were in the Cayman Islands. And
Dad, you wanted to do tax evasion.
I picked up the phone.
Man after my own heart. We love it.
I was into, like tax havens as a 12-year-old.
Perfect.
And so I picked up the phone. There were no websites for award booking back then. I think I tried to lower my voice to speak to Sheila at US Airways. And I found out how to book 4 of my dad and 3 siblings would fly Philly to Grand Cayman nonstop. My mom and I would fly through Miami. I did it all on points, and we rented a house off of a brand new website called Vrbo, which allowed us to rent this really cute 2-bedroom beach bungalow right in Rum Point, beautiful area. And it was cheaper than the cost of one hotel room at the Marriott on 7 Mile Beach, the crowded area, because this doctor from central New Jersey was just putting his house up on the internet. So getting $1,500 was great. So the night before the trip, I had a full-blown anxiety attack. I'm 12 years old, sitting in my bunk bed, rocking back and forth. Like, is this going to be really good, or am I going to be grounded? And my mom and I flew through Miami. Of course, I took the connecting flight, because when you're an av geek, I was like, that's double the flights, double the pleasure. Yeah. And I just remember walking through the immigration hall, and my dad had the biggest smile on his face, and he bear hugged me and was like, this is incredible. So we got to vacation, all 6 of us, in January of 1996, and it was, I think, a 4th as much as it would have cost to get a house down the Jersey Shore for a week. So, it really made up for my dad traveling so much, missing basketball games. Aww. So that's when I got my points education, and my dad and we were points hounds. I had no idea that there was a whole community of people doing this, but Wendy's used to offer points on Frosties, and Life Cereal had American Airlines miles. We had all of our family mailing us their box tops and stuff. So I was doing the points game as a kid. And to finally answer your question, after college I was working for Morgan Stanley, traveling a lot. Great recession hit. It was a really tough time in financial services, especially being a 27-year-old HR associate, not making a lot of money.
Okay, HR, LOL. We all thought you were working in finance.
Why is it funny that I would work in HR? It's always the craziest people in HR. Where are my HR professionals in the house? Yep, you look a little unhinged.
Yeah.
Yep. So I was doing recruiting for Morgan Stanley, and I called Amex one day, and I said, can I get all the points? I was spending like $100,000 a month on the career fairs and I was flying 50 students a week to do interviews on site, and I would pay for their hotel folios on my corporate card, because the kids didn't have credit cards, most of them. So I figured out in 2008 how to just start raking in tons of points. And at the same time, when the economy was in chaos, business travel was down. So all the Starwood hotels, Hyatt was doing one free night at any Hyatt globally for every 2 nights. You could stay at a $50 Hyatt place and then get a free night at the Park Hyatt. So I was raking in. I was broke as hell. I was still basically living paycheck to paycheck, but I was living this, double life, as it was my points rich, cash poor period of my life. And finally people were like, everyone was like, who's your sugar daddy? And I would be like, Amex, it was my point. So in 2010, I started the Points Guy, and it wasn't even a blog. It was an award booking service. So it was just a shell form. And so you'd pay me $50 and I would help book your flights. So I was making a couple $100, and then I made $1,000 a month, which when you're living paycheck to paycheck as a consumer financial expert, you just got to hustle to bring in that cash. And a friend of mine said, you really need to blog. And this is the year 2010. He's like, fashion bloggers are starting to sit front row at fashion shows, travel blogs. There were plenty of travel blogs and even points blogs, but none of them were consistent. All my favorite points blogs were only once or twice a week. And he said, if you do it every single day, trust me, they will come. And that was June of 2010. And it was early 2011 when it just blew up. The New York Times, and tip to any entrepreneur out there, people in general, periodically check your spam box. Because I was going through my spam inbox, and I see an email from the New York Times interview request from Seth Kugel, the old Frugal Traveler columnist. And he said, I want to meet with you. I'm a budget travel expert, and I don't believe in the value of points and miles. And this is what the media was saying in 2011. Blackout dates, miles are useless, they're pointless, don't do it, just book the cheapest flight. And I met with him for 3 hours and helped him book a ticket that day to see his girlfriend in Brazil. And he was almost in tears. He's like, I couldn't afford to visit her till the holidays. So I got so much joy out of watching, and this is why I'm still doing this, watching people get value out of an asset that's sitting in front of them. And the joy of people getting to travel, whether to visit family. So he wrote an article about the Points Guy in 2011. It blew up the site, and unbeknownst to me, SEO, all of a sudden this little blog had a huge link from the New York Times, and traffic took off. I quit my job on Wall Street, and it's been a really fun ride ever since. Did that answer the question?
That answered the question, but it led to other questions because, you talk about the beginning of your journey as the Points Guy, and it feels like you knew a secret that no one else knew. You were this whiz kid, you had this understanding of miles and rewards, no one else did. But flash forward to today, feels like a really crowded space. I mean, every time that I go on the internet, there's another article about points losing their value, and just feels like, is that even possible anymore? Like, are we still even able to be points guys and girls?
Well, Haley, let's just get one thing straight. There will only ever be one Points Guy, okay? There's a lot of other competition out there. No, I love the competition. It's a thriving industry. The points game has changed, and the point of my book is, and people on the internet, why are you going to write a book that should be a blog post? But the point of the book is not do this promotion here or there. It's teaching you the language. And I firmly believe that people who pay attention to their points and credit, and the minute that you care about your credit because it gives you value, thousands of dollars in value, allows you to see friends, allows you to explore the world, I know for a fact, people become maniacal then about their finances, paying their bills off in full. I have core tenets that I think we both agree financial education in this country is non-existent. We're left to figure out credit on our own. So I believe the book will teach people the foundations, not just to win at travel, but harness their finances and win at life. And the rules will change over time. And certainly, once again, if I'm an optimist, and if you look at pessimistic headlines of, the airlines are just raising the amount of miles needed for flights, this game is over. That whole trope of this game is over. In 2010, when I started the Points Guy, everyone was saying, why are you starting a blog? It's over. You're too late to the game. In the 2000s, you could redeem for the Concorde. Now you can't. But I'm like, that mindset is a losing mindset. The game, yes, airlines are charging more, but you can also earn an insane amount more points than ever before. The United States is the global epicenter of points. We have 15 huge banks competing for your business. There's no other country in the world where you can get a single credit card and easily get $1,000 in value, if not more. And that's just the points. I get into in the book the whole chapter on perks. All of us, my son, if you follow me on Instagram, just drew all over a $1,300 beautiful new chair, which is now a piece of art. And, 45 days ago, I bought it with the Capital One Venture X card. They're reimbursing me. They're sending me a new chair. And that's what people don't realize. There are purchase protections, travel protections, and these all exist underneath all of our noses. But most people, even, points experts, we forget this. So this book for me is reminding people to harness your fair share because everyone can be getting more. So no, the game is not over. It's evolving.
We're in the platinum age.
But today you can earn points for free on rent. If you would have told me that 15 years ago that you could earn free points on rent with no annual fee card, I would have said you were crazy. And now that exists. And those points from Built are incredibly valuable and a huge, that's huge value you can get every year. So yes, the game is changing, but you can still win if you have the right mindset.
And if you have the right book.
Exactly.
Okay, we can all breathe a sigh of relief. We're in the platinum age of travel. I know you talk about that in your book, but something that I hear a lot on Mrs. Dow Jones, I'm sure you hear even more on the Points Guy, is there are so many options. How do I choose? So how do you suggest that someone picks the right card or loyalty program for them? And is it right to have one card that you're just monogamous with? Should you be seeing a few different cards?
Oh, you sleep around. The goal
Yeah.
with airlines, credit cards, sleep around. Well, before you get a credit card, it's critical. I have points commandments and credit card rules. You need to make sure you're not going to go into debt. Paying interest, 30% APR on a lot of these rewards cards, you will lose at the points game. So if you're going to carry a balance, or you are carrying a balance today, my key advice would be to just pay that balance down, potentially get a 0% APR, neutralize the debt, get yourself to a place where you're paying for things on credit cards, but then paying them off every month, avoiding that interest, helping your credit score by not having high utilization, which is a key factor of FICO. So
30%.
Once you're cleared for takeoff in the credit card space, there's three main flavors of rewards cards. There's cash back.
Talk to us.
The cash back cards. Is this getting you excited?
I'm excited. Let's hear it.
Well, cash back, which is pretty much what it sounds like. You can get generally the gold standard there, 2% back.
I heard Apple Cash 4%.
There's different cards that'll give you different amounts on different types of purchases, but there's actually a Robinhood cashback credit card that can be up to 3% if you have Robinhood Plus. So, and some other cards, but generally 2%. Most cards will give you 1.5 rotating categories, but a 2% cashback card is great. Co-brand credit cards, which are like your airline and hotel cards, where you're earning instead of cash back, you're earning either an airline mile, hotel point.
That always feels like such a big commitment. It's like, how do I know? Am I a Delta girly? Am I United?
Yeah.
How?
Well, so we can get into what airline to give your loyalty to, but those airline credit cards are good to have for the perks, the free check bags, et cetera, but you don't want to accrue most of your currency in one singular airline. Because the final flavor of rewards are transferable points currencies. And this is what everyone should have: a transferable points credit card. This is your Amex Gold.
This is my shit.
Chase Sapphire Reserve, Capital One Venture X, Built, Citi Strata. There's a Wells Fargo transferable card now. So there's plenty of them out there, but the beauty of these transferable cards is that you can transfer to a number of different partners. So whether you want to fly Emirates to Milan this summer and try out the A380, or if you want to fly Air France, or transfer to a Star Alliance carrier, these programs will allow you to maximize your points. Whereas if you just, you're in Philly, I fly American, let me just give my life to American, have all the American credit cards. You have a bundle of American miles, but then you realize, I really want to fly Lufthansa this summer. And I always get asked, well, Brian, I have 7 million American miles, but I want to fly Emirates. How do I do it? You can't, You made a huge mistake, So you want to diversify just like you do your stocks, so that because some airlines are naughtier than others. American miles are actually pretty valuable. Delta is probably the naughtiest of the U.S. carriers in terms of
value.
Inflating, devaluing their miles. But you want to have a broad mix. And their credit cards, you want to have them there's two sides of the coin: earning points and category bonuses. You want to look at what you spend the most money on: gas, groceries, rent, etc. And the goal, one of my points commandments with cards is your goal is to earn more than 1 point per dollar spent. And it can be done because there's credit cards like Capital One Venture X, which is 2x on every single purchase. So that's what I put, doctor's visits, random things that don't have a category bonus, but I'm using Amex Gold 4x on dining and groceries, which as a new dad, you spend a lot on groceries. So as your life changes, you want to have—
Fresh fruit, right?
Yes, lots of, yeah.
I feel like parents are always
Lots of
spending their
everything.
whole
Yeah, I don't
retirement
even know
on
how these two
berries.
little monsters can.
So
Anyway.
speaking of your kids, like you're bringing them all around the world. Are you crazy? What? How are you?
My
What's going
2-year-old's been
on?
to 16 countries.
But I've been in first class with a child. It's annoying.
Well-
I'm like,
Well, honey, we don't fly first class. We fly the residents, so it wasn't us.
Oh, jeez.
No,
But
so
how
I
are
have
you
a
instilling like good travel values in them? 'Cause
Here's
you,
the thing on kids in first class. So you may not realize it or not, but planes are public transportation, just like a subway. Anyone can get a ticket on a plane. So if you want to control the manifest on your plane, you can charter your own. But until you do that, you're on public transportation, honey. So there's going to be, if I'm going to buy a ticket for my son, and by the way, in my millions of miles flying, I can assure you that the most disruptive passengers are not the cute little ones, it's drunk adults, time and time again. So I don't want to hear it about a baby in first class. Get yourself some noise-canceling headphones, have a glass of wine, and chill out, because we were all kids once.
what are like what? Yes. I think I'm just jealous. I'm going to apply to be the nanny.
Yeah, that's the #1 DM I get. And I am hiring, no.
Okay, some rapid fire questions. What are some of the biggest travel mistakes you see people making with their points these days? Like, what gives you the ick?
Well, so there's two sides. Hoarding. So raise your hand if you're a points hoarder. This is a safe place. I can't see
is
your face.
safe.
So yeah, no. A lot of you have tons of points.
Yes.
So that's a bad strategy. It's a psychological epidemic that's happening where people just like to see the points, but they lose value over time. So you want to have a strategy where you're taking that money off the table, save the money from those flights, even if it's not the best redemption, but take that money off the table today. The airlines will continue to change. And then use that money you would have spent on airfare on really amazing experiences, dinners, or even just put it towards your bills. And then on the other end
don't
is,
pay for Amazon with them.
you
Like,
know,
whenever
it's
you're-
better than nothing. And on the other side, people who let their points expire, they don't track them. And I will say, if you have points that you're not going to use, donate them to charity. There are charities like Make-A-Wish that 80% of Make-A-Wish kids' wishes involve travel. So at least donate them, but put them to use, for God's sakes.
Okay, love that. What is the best trip they've ever taken?
I am obsessed with South Africa.
South
been-
Africa.
South Africa.
South Africa.
I love safari. I love animals. And I actually just took my 2-year-old son with my parents. So intergenerational trips. My parents are like my best friends. I am so thankful to have them in my life. And they're young and healthy. Well, not so young, but they're not here tonight, so I can say that. I was biting my tongue. No, they're healthy and can travel. So I took my parents and my little 2-year-old, and we went on safari in Sabi Sands. I just love Cape Town, Franschhoek. La Residence is one of the most beautiful hotels in the world in the Cape Winelands. If you love wine and wine country and beautiful places, Cape Town, and you can now fly there nonstop, Newark to Cape Town, using your miles. And yeah, South Africa just does it for me every time.
What is the best and worst in-flight meal?
Speaking of Newark to Cape Town, it's an airline called United. United they keep saying they're going to get their meal better, but they had some dog foodish meals during the pandemics. I'm trying to think. But best.
What's like the best?
I mean, I'm a caviar boy in the sky. So Emirates has now unlimited caviar in first class. So I'm hell-bent on getting my money's worth anytime I fly Emirates. I think I never wear boots when I fly Emirates because my legs bloat up so much. I've been on arrival trying to like wedge my bloated feet. So, but yeah, Emirates food itself isn't that great, but like unlimited Dom and caviar, and then taking a hot shower in the sky before you land to pull yourself together it's a nice experience.
What's always in your carry-on, and what packing tips do you have for us?
Yeah, so I always have my Bose QC headphones. I went on for Apple. Were not my favorite. I love my Bose QCs because you can controlling your own environment is key. Always having snacks. I'm a hangry person by nature, and I realized I enjoy traveling a lot more. You're always going to get let down by in-flight meals. So having protein bars and snacks. I always have a pen and pad with me at all times. A pen, especially if you have to go through customs. I hate having to ask someone. And a piece of paper because I just write so much down. I love people watching. A lot of times I don't even go to a lounge, especially when I was writing this book. I was in airports and hotels, so I always like to take notes of my crazy travels. And for me, just writing things down feels good, even though I lose my notes half the time.
I love that. And, just to bring up something more serious, obviously recently there's been some plane issues. We've seen some scary headlines. So how does that affect your perception of travel? Do you still feel safe? Do you think that that will have a negative impact on the aviation industry?
Yeah, no, so I mean, really concerning events. I mean, it's unsettling for sure. But I think, and I have an entire, if anyone here has a fear of flying, I have a chapter in the book on fear of flying because it's one of the top questions I get asked. And I wanted to delve more deeply into why is there so much fear of traveling when traveling by air is extraordinarily, like absolutely incredibly safe on so many levels. And while no system is perfect, I mean, it is incredible that millions and millions of flights occur every year and there's still relatively few incidents. Getting in a car is astronomically more dangerous. Yet I know so many of my friends who will ride in the back of an Uber without a car seat on the way to the airport, which is incredibly dangerous on so many levels. And then they start to get anxiety when they're in an airport that has security, hopefully no guns through, and you're getting on a plane with highly trained professionals. And so even this incident is scary. I have zero qualms about flying. I'll be flying in 2 days. But I understand that, why this is unsettling because now the news media is now blowing up every single incident. I see, a plane engine caught on fire. There's a lot of routine incidents that happen all the time, but they never make news until after events like these. So the algorithm is based on fear and outrage, and they know that's what people click. So now everyone's on edge with flights, and certainly the incident in Philadelphia the other day was also terrible and an actual event that's concerning, but overall, travel's extraordinarily safe, and I think we should just look at the big numbers and the big picture. But hopefully our government will, continue to invest in air traffic control and technology. There's a lot of issues facing our aviation infrastructure. So there are areas of concern, but I would have no qualms flying today.
Okay, I love that. I feel like I have been hoarding you, which I already do because you're a great friend of mine, so I talk to you all the time. So I do want to make sure that we have time for a juicy Q&A. We really want to make sure we have enough time to hear from everyone.
And the only question, so just try not to ask anything too specific. Like there's a bunch of other people in the room, so high-level questions would be great. Okay, I scared you now. All right. With my friend, I just picked up on the Acela train, and he came and had cheesesteaks with us, and now he's at my book signing. That's the joy of travel. Okay. And he's a points hoarder.
I'm a points hoarder, and the cheesesteaks were amazing. You must go. So as a points hoarder, if I'm going to take one luxury flight with those points, what airline and what route?
So you have Delta miles, and your $4 million will get you to Akron.
Drag him.
No, I actually in the book I have travel bucket lists. The A380 is an amazing aircraft, but out of Philly, I would recommend Qatar Airways has their Q suites, and it's actually an incredible use using your American miles to fly through Doha. You can go to Maldives if you've got Marriott points. The Ritz-Carlton Maldives has award availability almost all year. One of the most stunning resorts. Highly, highly recommend that combo for the Philly crowd. I would just say, most of avoid American carriers in general. Asian carriers, Singapore, All Nippon, whenever possible, you can fly those international carriers. You will be blown away at the level of service and quality of the food. But I'm a big fan too of, Air France business class is really great to Europe, and their taxes and fees are pretty low, so I avoid flying through London. I hate Heathrow. It's a pain to transfer, switch terminals. So, and on redeeming points for hoarders out there, there's a lot of new technology that will actually do all the heavy lifting for you. So back onto why I'm optimistic about 2025 and 2010 maybe wasn't so amazing is in 2010, we didn't have tools really that would automatically search. There were some wonky tools but you'd have to go airline site by airline site, understand the limitations of every airline website because they didn't show all award availability. You'd have to call to figure out it was very, very time consuming. Today, there are tools. There's one called Point Me.
I love Point Me.
Point.me is a great tool. And if you have an Amex membership rewards
free.
card, point.me/Amex. And if you've got an Amex membership rewards card, you can use it for free. It's basically like Google Flights, but for award tickets. So you can put in Philadelphia to Cape Town, and it'll search all the different points you have and all the transfer partners on a set of dates. And you may be blown away at all the different options that exist by transferring to different partners. And I encourage you, one of the ways you get the most value out of your points is thinking outside the box. So there's a lot of airlines also allow stopovers. So for the price of the same ticket, you can include 2 cities. Air France, for example, don't just fly Newark to Paris. For the same price, or maybe a moderately 5,000 more miles, you could also tack on Marrakesh or go to Istanbul. So these are called stopovers. And especially if you've got a flexible schedule, Aeroplan is the same. Aeroplan is a transfer partner of a lot of the credit card currencies or Star Alliance. So if you wanted to go to Bangkok, which I'm going to in April, you could fly from Philly to Vienna or Newark to Vienna, stop in Europe, go for a week, and then continue on from there to Asia, and it would just be 5,000 more miles than flying directly to Asia. So there's lots of advanced methods. It takes a little bit of time to get used to, but plan trips where you can try different airlines and carriers. Now that there are tools, there's one other tool that's really amazing. It's called seats.aero, A-E-R-O. And I talk about it in the book. It takes a little bit of time getting used to it, but the joy of this program is it takes one loyalty program, and for example, American Airlines, and you can search routes like that Qatar Airways. You can just start searching for Philadelphia to Doha. Let's just start there. Let's see what dates of the year. You can search for an entire year, click business class, and it'll show you every single date starting from today that there is business class availability for 2 seats, Philly to Doha. Once you find that really hard segment, then you try Doha, Cape Town, and from there. But there are tools now that allow you, if you're flexible with your time, to build your trips around the awards. That's how you win at the points game these days. You have to be a little bit flexible and use these technologies. But even if you don't have Amex, they're $100 a year each, but they will save you thousands and thousands of dollars. So teaching yourself how to use these tools will open up a world. You want to fly that Emirates, they fly JFK to Milan on the A380, first class, caviar. You just click a button and it'll show you every day this year where you can fly JFK to Milan or other way around, and then build your trip back from there.
I just have a question. I don't know if you can answer about travel insurance. We travel, and it says on my Chase card, pre-existing condition. They won't cover. Is there any card that covers for anything? So, because regular travel insurance, it's very expensive if you're older, and it's almost like I'm not paying $3,000, for
Yep.
insurance.
So I don't know. Pre-existing conditions are tough, but there are insurance policies. I would say I actually believe so. Travel insurance can be not so expensive. It can be 5% of the cost of a trip. It does go up based on your age. They do price it based on where you're going, but the best way to get travel insurance is go to insuremytrip.com. Never buy it through an airline or hotel. Your credit card will come with insurance and evacuation coverage, but it's not always going to cover medical insurance if you get sick abroad. So the devil's in the details. The the travel insurance that comes with credit cards are good if your flights, they have flight cancellations and delays. If you really need to be medevaced, it'll help, but there's a huge gap in between, including, if normal travel insurance will cover, if you paid for a safari and then all of a sudden you have a sick family member, your credit card's not always going to cover that, but travel insurance usually will. So I go to insuremytrip.com, and here's the kicker. It'll usually give you 3 policies to compare and contrast. The most expensive ones often are the worst coverage. And it's very easy to compare and contrast. The policy terms are simple. So just scroll down, quickly compare and contrast, but a lot of them will cover pre-existing conditions. This is great if you're interviewing for jobs, if you're trying to get pregnant, but you never quite know, but you need to book a trip that might have a villa that's non-refundable, and you're like, ugh. So I book travel insurance for big ticket items, non-refundable cruises, villas. It gives you that peace of mind. The goal is you never have to use it, but always do it through Insure My Trip. I don't know of a credit card that would cover pre-existing conditions, but in addition, I always will use a credit card with good coverage. Most of the travel credit cards out there have solid protections, but not as broad as just purchasing insurance outright.
How often are you getting travel insurance?
For big trips, like when I went on safari with my parents, or if I'm getting a villa that's like non-refundable 60 days out or not, when you book it, a lot of hot destinations now you have to pay in full. And also just with weather, wild weather, and when the Maui fires happened, so many people were messaging me, can you believe it? My hotel's not refunding me. But when you buy non-refundable hotels, that's what you assume the risk. You should not assume a small hotelier should be assuming the risk for anything that might happen. People always message me, can you believe my grandma got sick and the airline's not letting me cancel for free? And in the book, I talk about, you need to understand the contracts that you're getting into with these companies, because that's where I see a lot of friction. People just don't understand the rules. And the rules are written against travelers in most cases. And when you're asking for a favor, it's a little bit different attitude and approach you should take. This is why I never scream at the airline agents, saying, I'm never going to fly American Airlines again. They don't care. They don't, truly never will. So it might feel good, but be strategic and think about this person, if they help me. Airline agents these days might get in trouble for helping you. That's how bad it's gotten. So think about it. That frontline agent is being screamed at all day. Go to them as nice as possible, and even if you're enraged at the airline cancel and you hate American, well, that frontline employee didn't make that decision, and they want you out of there as much as you do. So I talk a lot about, there's a whole chapter on when things go wrong and the approach you should take, the way, you should do your own research. I don't even know what the question was, but hopefully that was helpful.
I just want to cover one thing. I want to make sure that we cover this in the I forgot to ask it, but I just want to make sure that we cover, how do you think AI is going to change how people book trips? And how do you use it and suggest that we use it?
I think AI is going to change a lot. I think, there needs to be more self-service. The airlines are so archaic. Airline technology is terrible. Hotel technology is terrible. The travel industry at large needs to really invest in technology. We see it now. I love the new chat bots that allow you to cancel a flight instead of, I hate calling. I don't know of anyone who likes calling. By the way, there's a trick in the book. Whenever you're dealing with an agent who doesn't want to help you, hookah, hang up, call again. So stop getting locking heads with agents that are never going to help you. Take a deep breath, call back, and hopefully get an empowered agent that can. But back to AI, I think, right now I think there's a stat, the average consumer visits 38 websites before they make a trip. There's so many crazy pieces of information. Where in the city is this restaurant in relation to my hotel? Is this hotel in a good area? So there's a lot of startups out there that are trying to tackle this. The Chat GPT and other models are still pretty outdated, but they're getting better and better. So, I think there's a lot to be done, but I think it could make travel a lot more authentic and tailored to your needs. Because I talk about it in the book, we all need to stop going to the same exact place. Over-tourism is an issue. Communities are now taking super soakers and squirting tourists and screaming, stay away. That might be a wake-up call. So instead of going to Barcelona in August and all the top European capitals, which, by the way, are sweltering, void of locals and expensive and inauthentic, start going to different places and spreading your tourism dollars. Stop eating just at hotels. Go into the local bakery and actually infuse the community with your dollars. So, yeah, more to come on the AI front. But
What's your next book?
That's my next book.
Sorry. He's back to whoever needs to answer.
PTSD.
Yes. I think I saw a question over here.
Thanks. I just had a follow-up on the insurance question. I was surprised to hear that you insure each trip. If you travel a lot, do you? What
Oh
about
no,
the
I said
annual
I only
insurance?
insure the big trips. Insuremytrip.com is the website, but I only insure the big trips. Like if I have to do non-refundable, really fancy hotel months in advance, which I hate doing, but now more and more of those top hotels, they have 30, 60, 90-day cancellation policies. So like when I was paying for my parents' safari and it was a big, big ticket trip that if we couldn't go, that was going to be a hard pill to swallow. But for 5% of the cost of the trip, which I now just factor in as like a rounding error, just try not to, and have that peace of mind. But really for only the big trips. For if I'm using, by the way, using points are amazing because points are like refundable travel. So when you book a flight using points, one of the best things that came out of the pandemic is most of the major airlines will let you cancel that flight free of charge up until departure, which winning at travel to another, I'll help take you that to the next step is whenever you're at the airport and I get a delay notification, like, oh no, here we go. Because we all know 10 minutes turns into an hour, 2 hours, and you really need to get to where you're going. A mentality you need to have is your frequent flyer mile stash, those transferable points are the first thing I go to. I don't wait in that hour-long line begging for a scrap. I'm immediately on point me saying, how do I get from Newark to LAX right now? I take a look, there might only be one seat left, I burn points on that ticket, I take it before anyone else can get it. I may not use it, I have up until 1 second before the boarding closes to cancel it. So I have that there. I have that reserved, I have things, and sometimes I'll book second tickets if it's somewhere I really need to go, and I'll just always have to make sure you cancel and don't forget. But that is the power of points, is knowing if you're in Europe and you need to get home, if you call your airline and say, I need to change my flight to go home tomorrow, 10 grand for 4 tickets. They'll charge you refares, cost of ticketing, they will fleece you. Yet at the last minute, airlines are releasing tons of award space because the airlines are making billions off of these points. They need you to use them. So they try to fleece last minute consumers who are desperate and corporate, and that partner at a law firm is going to pay the 10K because his company's paying for him to get to London tomorrow. At the same time, that airline probably has seats at the very saver level, 60,000 points. So I want you all to think about your points being an insurance policy in itself. You may not need to buy travel insurance because you know you can always get yourself anywhere in the world at a minute's notice to get home if you're sick, et cetera. So yeah, that's another mentality of points these days. They're incredible. They're even more flexible than they ever were before. Pre-pandemic, it would be $75 per cancellation of awards, or you had to be elite status to cancel an award ticket for free. Now, all the major US airlines let you cancel free of charge as much as you want. So you can speculatively book. I tell people if you have a sports team that you like, book the Super Bowl when it opens, when you find out where it is, using your points. If it happens, in the case of Philadelphia. But you can, congratulations. Okay, I got on another tangent. Next question.
He loves a tangent. Oh, I like, that one.
In the Eagles green sweater.
Oh my gosh, but I've already locked eyes with someone.
We got time.
Okay, we're gonna do both, don't worry. Oh, and I've got one over there. There's a lot of options. Okay.
Well, whoever has the microphone, ask the
Who's
question.
got the mic?
Hi.
Hi.
Oh,
I'm a total not points hoarder. Just really quick, 1 second thing before I get to my question.
Shame
but
on you.
I'm not a points hoarder at all.
Good
I
girl.
use my points.
Oh, good.
yes.
So my family's going to the Super Bowl.
Woo!
And I used my points to get the hotel in New Orleans. I booked 5 nights, even though they're only staying for 2, in a hotel 2 miles away, and only spent 150,000 Marriott points. So I thought that was
Wow.
awesome.
Let's give a round of applause for that
Okay.
good redemption.
That's very important.
Real
my-
recognize real.
But my question is, you said rent on points. Is that without paying the percentage?
Without paying. BILT is the program built.
Mm-hmm.
It's a MasterCard with Wells Fargo, 0 annual fee.
It's amazing. I work with
And
them.
I'm a founding advisor of the company. It is legit. And yeah, there's no percentage fee that you have to pay. Even if your landlord takes a check, they can cut a check. So, and it's up to $100,000 a year in free points. And those bill points are incredible. You can transfer them to Hyatt, United.
They're as valuable as an
Emirates,
Amex
as
point, anything.
They're more valuable than Amex
Yeah.
and on par with Chase per the
Yeah.
points guy. But yeah, BILT, it's a no-brainer if you pay rent. If you're not paying your rent on Bilt, Sucks for you.
Just make sure that you
Thanks.
use the card 5 times per billing period,
Yeah.
or you won't get the points. Okay, we're coming. Look this way. Okay, getting warmer, warmer, hot, scorching to the right, right there. Yep, there he is.
Hi, Ellie. Hi, Brian.
Hey.
I think in the beginning you talk about changing mindset. So this
Yes.
is for Helly, and I'll come to you, Brian, for later.
Sorry, Ryan.
Please.
Something you talk about, I think, in one of your stories, that when the stock market is down, remember that shares are on sale.
Yes.
And that's life changing. So I want to thank you for that.
Oh,
That's really great.
good.
To Brian, I don't think I'm a stalker, but like you travel often, right? And when you travel for work and everything, like you were in New York, you took the SLI, came over here, doing this event, doing something. How do you keep up? How do you keep up, as in like get to work, keep it fresh? How do you do that? That's
Yeah.
the question.
How do I keep it fresh?
Like, how do you feel good? Like, most of us, when we travel, we eat like pigs. We
Yeah.
drink all day. We, like,
Yeah, well,
whatever.
I mean, I have stopped drinking as much on planes. That will really tire you out and exhaust you. And I can assure you, having drank on every airline, pretty much every, it's never
You
as
put in your
good as
time.
being better rested at your destination, being at a great restaurant where you are. So, I mean, have your glass of wine, but don't, feel like you have to get your money's worth. Although, didn't I just say that 20 minutes ago?
You just told us that you
Also,
don't
I'm a
wear
compulsive
You don't
liar.
wear
No.
that you don't wear
No, but
boots
I have
on
a
Emirates.
whole chapter in the book on travel health, including jet lag. I mean, working out, the day of flights.
Yeah.
I try to bank I'm very mindful of my sleep, and you're going to get terrible sleep on a plane in general. And I also use the app Time Shifter, which you're all getting a free 1-year premium subscription. Time Shifter is awesome for jet lag. It gives personalized recommendations. And I learned a lot while reading that chapter, that jet lag is not just about sleep and catching up, but it's helping your circadian rhythm mostly via light exposure, and getting light at the right times for your particular circadian rhythm. So, but I make it look easy, but that's also just Instagram filters and Botox.
I heard that supermodels never eat on planes. So that's like a really good hack for everyone.
I mean,
Just avoid the caviar that you spent all your points on, no. But depends
Yeah,
how bad you want it.
Some airlines are okay, but there's generally not great food on airlines. But when your baseline is the U.S. airlines, then the food is amazing on most other carriers.
I just love the snacks. I don't know why. They pass around the snack basket, and it's like, I'm in. Okay. Oh, shoot. We're coming back to you, I promise.
Use points for cruises, and are there any cruise lines you recommend?
So the cruise loyalty, they do have loyalty programs, but they're not generally like points programs like the airlines are. You can get perks for frequent cruising, but you can use credit card points to pay for cruises at decent ratios. Amex is not great with cruises. You're going to get less than 1 cent per point, which is a terrible use of Amex points. This is where I really like Capital One miles. You can transfer to airlines and hotels, but you can also use them 1 cent per point on cruises with travel agents, et cetera. So, and that Capital One is the 2X card. So it's kind of like 2% back towards cruises and airlines, and or you could transfer to book your business class flights to that cruise as well. So if you're a cruiser, I would say the Capital One Venture X is the way to go, because it'll let you use your points for any cruise line or travel agent.
Oh, down here. So, warmer, hot, scorching, to the right. Perfect.
How long is enough to do a decent get out of the airport and look around a little bit for a layover? I'm looking at some stuff, and there's a 5-hour, there's a 6-hour layover, there's
That's a great
8 Like,
question.
what's enough without just going out and having to turn around and come back?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the airport. And, in New York City, flying into JFK, even public transit, you're looking at least 1 hour, each way, even when, maybe a little shorter. But, so I would say 6 hours, but it depends, once again, on the city. Also, in New York, you don't have to go in the center of Manhattan. You can go to cool neighborhoods in Brooklyn that are much closer to JFK. But in Paris and Amsterdam's very easy to get into the city. You could easily do, but 6, I would say, is like, pushing it. I'd want to ideally have like an 8 hours in. You could even do Paris. Just don't take a car, because that Parisian traffic's horrible. but it just really depends on the mass transit. But if it's less than 1 hour into the city, I would do 6, ideally 8.
What's the best hotel loyalty program and credit card for hotels?
So Hyatt, I would, and by the way, everyone, Zach Griff from the Points Guys here. Zach, you want to stand up? He is an incredible points expert, Philadelphia. Well, not native, but he lives here now, and he's going to be around to ask questions as well. Zach will also agree with me, I'm sure. Hyatt is the most valuable hotel loyalty program. And then the best card, I would say Chase Sapphire Reserve, because you earn triple points on travel and dining, and those points transfer 1-to-1 to Hyatt, which is a really good ratio.
Got one over here.
Thank you. Hey, Brian. I'm a firm believer that the travel experience actually starts on the ground, not necessarily on the plane. You know, maybe flying business, first class, the residence, whatever. So how do you make the most of your ground experience, right? Do you show up at the airport like 4 hours early and just sit at the lounge for 4 hours? Or
I am actually, well, especially with kids now, I show up, I'm not trying to get to the airport too early, or if I'm not with kids, I know with pre-check and clear, I'm gonna get through security pretty quickly. Honestly, a lot of times I avoid lounges. They're just not that great. Some are really nice, like the Centurion, the Amex Sapphire lounges, the credit card lounges are worthwhile. A lot of the airline, although they're investing in them, that doesn't really do it to me. But I recommend to everyone just showing up a little bit early now, especially if you have lounge access. Just take the stress out of the day. Things are going to happen on the way to the airport. Like, just factor in when possible. You know, take a nice book with you if you get there early. Get a nice coffee. But you know, airlines that do really good ground service, I love Air France. Will actually pick you up at the plane in first class and escort you to the lounge. That's like one of my favorite first class, just for that VIP experience. I'll also say, like, if you ever want to splurge, you know, transiting, if you're traveling with parents who might be older, if someone in your family has mobility issues, I highly recommend paying, in some cities like Dubai, it's really cheap, $50 for airport transfers. There's a lot of services that you can book that will pick you up in a buggy through the airport. So, you know, if you're not going to splurge on first class, but you can book a business class award and you're saving money on tickets, paying, you know, Qatar Airways has this service. They'll pick you up at the plane and you get into the first class lounge. So sometimes you can splurge a couple $100 for a real premium experience where they're going to take you through immigration. If you've got young kids, I like these services now. Amex Centurion will actually do arrival services. If you have the black card or know someone who does and travel with them, they'll meet you and escort you through. So yeah, for me, that's luxury. I don't want to drink or not get food in a lounge, but I like to get in and out of airports, wait in lines as quickly or as little time as possible. So, but sometimes just paying for those VIP services. Delta has it as well. If you're flying in and have a really quick connection in Atlanta, pay for Delta's VIP service, which will whisk you through Atlanta, help you get your bags, recheck them, etc.
We have like 5 minutes.
And
Brian,
by
you
the
got
way,
less
we're going to be
tangents.
giving away, a prize, so stay tuned to the very end.
We're doing rapid fire.
In Philadelphia, American Airlines is, if you're flying out of the country, controls. I mean, there is Qatar, but there's very limited service for other airlines. JFK could be 3-hour drive and just destroy your vacation.
Yeah,
from the
JFK
get-go.
sucks.
Yeah,
Right.
JFK
So,
sucks.
Like, international, Newark is an option from Philadelphia. What Amex partners do you recommend from Newark?
Yeah, Newark's a great airport, and they have more and more international service. You know, United is Star Alliance. So if you have Chase points, you can transfer to United. But actually, I recommend transferring to Aeroplan when possible. Swiss Airlines. There's a lot of Star Alliance. Lufthansa now flies out of Newark. Air France flies out of Newark. So once again, getting a credit card that has all these transfer partners is your way to go. But yeah, once again, I know Zach lives in Philly and will often go to Newark. It can be worth it. You know, I see just when you price flights in Philadelphia, they know they have such a captive audience and they really fleece you on prices. And, you know, I'm sorry if there's any American employees, but it's not that nice.
trips.
Your choice.
My choice?
Oh, sorry. I spoke too soon.
I just wanted to ask a quick question for those of us that are taking the more bucket list trips and having to use like travel agents or like third parties to organize things like safari or like Patagonia. I've struggled to use points for that. So I was just wondering if you've had advice or agencies that help work with points.
So there aren't a whole lot of travel agencies that will do the points work, but that company I just talked about, point.me, they have VIP bookers. So if you don't want to deal with it, if you can't find the flights to South Africa, you can pay, I think it's $250 per ticket, and they'll help you get these are like the world expert in points, and they'll have tricks. They can even, I know I'm an investor in that company, they can even sometimes reach out to the airline to open up award space and really help you. So there's other, bookyouraward.com is one. So there are award booking agencies similar to what I did when I started the Points Guy that you can pay to, do concierge style trips for you. In terms of safari, there's not many points safari camps, but there is a Marriott JW in the Masai Mara in Kenya that's amazing and often has award availability. A great tool that I use is maxmypoint.com, and it will let you search hotels. So you can put in the JW, similar to that seats.aero where you can search for an entire year to find award space, and then you can plan your trip around it. Maxmypoint.com will show you month-by-month availability at really hard-to-find resorts like that JW in the Masai Mara. That's an amazing redemption with your Marriott points. Or the Park Hyatt Kyoto, which is one of the best points hotels in the world. So go on, search month by month, and say, hey, why don't we go to Japan in May? There's 4 nights at the Park Hyatt Kyoto. From there, then you go to Point Me and you try to find the flights, Philly to Tokyo. Oh, we can actually stop in Vancouver on the way. Let's do, that's the joy of the points world when you're flexible and you build your trips around the availability. And then, once again, because you can cancel and change trips, when better things open up over time, oh, the nonstop flight opened up JFK to Tokyo. Let's do that instead of going through Vancouver. And you can cancel everything. Okay, we'll just cancel our hotels in Vancouver. We'll do that another time. That's the beauty of the points game, is knowing the flexibility and leaning into that.
Oh my gosh. First off, Haley, I'm a big fan of yours.
What about me? No.
I'm gonna get to
It's
Let
my
me have
butt.
my flowers.
Thank you.
You've had a whole evening.
I'm a big fan. I just want to say, thank you for all your content. I just want to say I maxed my brother 2 years in a row.
Woo!
I have a
7K?
high yield savings account. Started reading this.
That's literally my favorite book.
Yeah.
We cannot be having wills. We have to have trusts.
To avoid
Those lawyers.
to avoid a probate.
Oh
My
my God.
question is, for the last 2 years, I've had a Venture X, couple of Venture X. I know it has value. I know I'm not taking advantage of it. And it's attached with a high annual fee. Part of the reason is, instead of using the Capital One portal, I tend not to, as I'm associated with Marriott, so I know I get a Marriott hotel rates. My best friend, he works for American, so I fly standby. So I don't know how to best use my Capital One. I know I am linked to Starbucks and Uber, where I could get Bonvoy points for that. So I don't know.
Well, your Venture X points are really valuable. You could pay for the Uber on the way to your free American flight, or for car service, or the Venture will let you redeem at 1 cent per point, which isn't the best, but it's not the worst. And you can pay for a hotel that's not Marriott that you have to pick up one day, or an Airbnb that you do. You can just wipe that with your Venture X miles. So they're actually really valuable miles overall, and especially for someone in your case where you don't really need a lot of air and hotel. But I mean, in your case, I would just bank, get new credit card sign-up bonuses with high bonuses, get 1 or 2 new ones a year. Yeah, I mean, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, Amex Gold cards are great for everyday purchases, for dining and travel.
I'm actually downgrading my platinum this week to gold, because gold, I think, is better than platinum.
Yeah, gold's a better points earning card than platinum.
Especially if you dine out a lot. It's just a better card. Okay, wait. So sad, but time.
Thank you all so much. I'm going to be signing books out in the lobby. Let's give it up for Haley.